I never believed rules could save a man's life. Most rules exist to control people's speed limits, office policies, safety stickers on machines because someone once did something stupid. But the rules taped to the front desk of the roadside motel weren't made to protect property or workers. They were made to protect reality. I know how that sounds. I wouldn't have believed it either until the night I broke rule number 3 and saw something watching me through a hallway that does not exist in this world. I took the job because I was desperate. That's usually how these stories begin, right? Some guy, flat broke, looking for a restart. But I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for you. I'm not a hero, I'm not a chosen one, and I'm definitely not special. I'm just a man who learned that some places aren't meant to be found, and some things should never, ever be seen. My name doesn't matter. What matters is what happened during my first week working the night shift at the roadside motel just outside Ash Pines, Arizona. You've probably seen places like low flickering neon sign, 6 empty parking spots, dead flies trapped in the lobby lights, a forgotten little grave of a building trying to look alive. I started on a rainy Thursday. The manager didn't show up. Instead, I found an envelope taped to the front door with my name written in red ink. Inside were keys, a timesheet, and a folded piece of paper titled, "Rules to follow during night shift: do not rent room 19. If the bell rings but no one is there, ring it back twice. Never mute camera 4. Return any found keys to the red folder. If the hallway phone rings at 3:17 a.m., do not answer." Below the list, someone had scribbled a final line by hand. Breaking rules has consequences. I laughed. It felt like a prank. Maybe the staff messing with the new guy. Still, I walked behind the front desk and got to work. Midnight passed. Then the rain hammered the windows in waves. Quiet, too quiet. Until the bell rang. Ding. I looked up from the creaking office chair. No one at the door. The parking lot was empty. Just shadows and falling rain. Then I remembered rule number 2. If the bell rings but no one is there, ring it back twice. Was this really something I was expected to do? I hesitated, then reached forward and tapped the bell once. Then again. 2 seconds of silence passed. Then something rang the bell back. 2 slow taps, ding ding. As if answering. I froze. It must have been an echo, I told myself. Or maybe the bell was broken. Mechanical recoil? Pressure release? Whatever. I reached out and stopped the bell from shaking. It sat still. Then, at my feet, I heard something drop. A metal clink. I looked down. A single brass key lay on the floor behind the desk. No room number. Just a scratched marking on one side, 19. The room that wasn't supposed to be rented. I picked it up and swallowed. Someone had to be screwing with me. I got back behind the desk and powered on the old security system, out of pure unease. The motel had 4 cameras, grainy and ancient, but still working. Cam 1, front door; Cam 2, parking lot; Cam 3, rear exit; Cam 4, east hallway, but the motel didn't have an east hallway. Yet camera 4 was showing one long, dim, empty, a hallway that shouldn't exist. Walls too long, lights too far apart, a blur at the end, like a dark doorway breathing in the dark. I leaned closer to the screen, and then someone walked past the camera, a tall figure, slow steps, moving deeper into the hallway that shouldn't exist, holding a brass key. My stomach dropped. I still don't know why I spoke out loud. Maybe some part of me believed that if I heard my own voice, it would pull me back to sanity. "There's no east hallway," I whispered. But camera 4 disagreed. I watched as the figure reached a door at the end of the hall, lifted the key, and unlocked it slowly. Room 19, the door I wasn't supposed to rent, the key I wasn't supposed to have. The rule I wasn't supposed to break. I should have turned off that monitor. I should have walked out and never come back. I should have followed every rule. But I leaned closer and watched what was inside that door. And that was the moment I stopped being alone inside the motel. I didn't see what was inside the door. Camera 4 flickered right as the door opened, distorting the image in cascading static. The screen shook, lines tearing the picture apart, like the motel itself was trying to hide whatever waited in room 19. When the video stabilized again, the figure was gone. But the door was still open. Wide open. I backed away from the monitor. Every instinct I had screamed at me, leave. Now. Quit the job, walk into the rain, sleep under a bridge if I had to. Anything was safer than whatever this place really was. But then the office phone rang. I had never jumped that hard in my life. The ring cut through the silence like a blade. I grabbed the receiver without thinking. "Front desk," I said, voice tighter than I intended. No response, just empty air. Then a faint scratch, like someone dragging their fingernail slowly against the microphone. "Hello," I repeated. Then a voice whispered, "Are you watching me?" I slammed the phone down so hard, the handset cracked. My pulse was all over the place. Every hair on my body felt electrified. Someone was in the motel. Someone knew I was watching. I looked back at camera 4. The hallway was empty again. The open door now closed. But something was new. A message had appeared written on the wall right next to room 19. Written in something dark. "I see you too." I stepped back and my heel hit something. The brass key I had found earlier now lay on the floor again, except it wasn't alone anymore. There were now 2 keys. One ordinary, one blackened, like it had been through fire. This was wrong, none of it made sense, but some twisted part of me needed answers. I grabbed the motel logbook from the desk. If room 19 existed, maybe someone had stayed there before. Maybe this was some kind of weird, hidden room. Maybe management was covering something up. I flipped through the log page after page of guest names and dates. Nothing unusual, until I reached the back cover. Someone had carved a message into the cardboard with something sharp. Don't trust the cameras. The next line was carved deeper, frantic, gouged with desperation. There is no reality after 3:17 a.m. Underneath that, an entire paragraph had been scratched, violently ripped apart, so violently the words were illegible. And under that, tiny letters, shaky, he lives between frames. I closed the logbook fast. I didn't want to read more. I didn't want to know more. I just wanted to get through the night alive. But I had already seen too much, and whatever was inside that hallway wasn't done with me yet. I couldn't sit down. The air inside the motel felt wrong, stale, pressured, like being underwater. Something unseen was moving, shifting, tightening around me. I felt watched, even though I was alone, or at least I used to think I was. I stared at camera 4 again. The hallway was still there, grainy and too long. The image shook slightly, like the signal was alive and breathing. The door marked 19 now stood closed, but light flickered under it, faint and sickly. Then I noticed something else's shape on the floor in front of the door. I leaned closer. It wasn't just a shadow, it was a shoe. Just one. Small, child-sized. Then the screen glitched once. The shoe was gone. Another glitch. Now the shoe was closer to the camera. Another flicker. Even closer, 5 feet away. Another flicker. Right in front of the camera now. I stumbled backward, away from the monitor. Something was coming. My mind fought for logic. Maybe the footage was pre-recorded. Maybe someone was tapping into the system. Maybe this was a prank. But who would go this far? Who would stage a hallway that doesn't exist? I turned toward the lobby doors. The rain outside poured harder now, beating the windows like fists. The parking lot beyond looked endless and empty. Escape was right there. All I had to do was walk out, but something stopped me. A sound? Barely a sound at all. A whisper. My name. From behind me. I turned slowly. The motel key rack behind the desk had changed. Every room key hung exactly where it should, except one. Room 19. The hook where its key should have been was empty, but the brass key hadn't disappeared. It had moved. It now sat on the front desk, and next to it lay a folded piece of paper that hadn't been there before. My hands shook slightly as I picked it up and unfolded it. 7 words. 7 words written in childish handwriting. Thank you for letting him out. My breath stopped. A chill crawled up my neck. Letting who out? I dropped the note and backed away, but as I did, the hallway lights flickered overhead. The building creaked. The phone behind me rang again. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to hear that voice again. But something cold moved through the air, ridging me, pushing me like invisible fingers at my spine. I answered. Hello? This time, the voice wasn't a whisper. It was my voice. My exact voice. Why did you mute the camera? My blood ran cold. I didn't, I said. I swear I didn't mute it. The voice on the phone answered, you will. Then the line went dead. I lowered the phone with numb fingers, turned to the monitor. Camera 4 had changed again. No hallway now. No door. No shoe. Just a dark screen with a blinking white cursor at the bottom, like an old computer waiting for input. Then, letter by letter, words began to type across the screen. The rules keep him, and the cursor blinked twice. Now you have to replace them. Replace who? I whispered. The screen answered. Him. My heart stopped. A reflection flickered faintly in the monitor. Someone standing behind me. I turned. There was no one there. But someone had opened the lobby door. Someone had let the rain in. Someone had left muddy footprints across the floor, and they led straight toward me. The footprints stopped right in front of the desk. I stared at them. My throat felt dry. They weren't just wet, they were darker than mud, almost black, and they weren't made by shoes. They were bare footprints, human, but twisted, toes too long, arches too high, like the feet belonged to someone who had never walked among people. I forced myself to move, to do anything but stand frozen. I followed the trail backward, step by step, toward the entrance. The glass doors were still closed, locked, yet the footprints started just inside, as if someone had formed out of thin air. Lightning flashed outside just once, and, in that single burst of light, I saw a reflection in the glass. Not mine. Tall, thin, standing behind me. I spun around. Nothing, but I knew something was there. Watching, studying me, breathing in my fear. I backed away from the door, careful not to step on the footprints, as if they were toxic. And then another thought hit me like a hammer. What time was it? I looked at the dusty old clock on the wall. 3:16 a.m., 1 minute before the rule. If the phone rings at 3:17 a.m., do not answer. I swallowed and turned slowly to face the office phone. It sat silent and still on the desk, waiting. The motel didn't feel like the motel anymore. Something had shifted in the air, as if reality were a fabric that had been unbuttoned and peeled back. The rain outside no longer sounded like rain. It was slower now, heavier, like the sky was dropping buckets of liquid tar. The fluorescent lights above hummed wrong, like they were flickering just outside the rhythm of time. I didn't look away from the clock. I just stared, locked in dread. 3 hours 16 minutes and 52 seconds. 3 hours 16 minutes and 53 seconds. 3 hours 16 minutes and 54 seconds. 3 hours 16 minutes and 55 seconds. 8 seconds. I held my breath. 3 hours 16 minutes and 56 seconds. 3 hours 16 minutes and 57 seconds. 3 hours 16 minutes and 58 seconds. 3 hours 16 minutes and 59 seconds. I closed my eyes. 3:17 the phone rang. I flinched like a gunshot had gone off beside my ear. It rang again, and again. Every ring drilling into my skull, I backed away. I looked anywhere but the phone. The rules were clear. This was the one I could not break. I just had to make it stop. But on the fourth ring, the ringing changed. It wasn't coming from the phone anymore. It was coming from camera 4. I turned. The monitor was no longer showing the blank screen. It was showing me the motel lobby from behind, as if someone was filming me right now. Except, I wasn't alone in the footage. Someone was behind me, a tall figure, face hidden in darkness, standing inches away. And he was holding a phone to his ear. I stared at the monitor, frozen. The figure in the video stood right behind me in the lobby, close enough to touch me. But when I turned around in real life, nothing. Empty space. Yet in the screen, he was still there, watching me. The ringing continued not from the lobby phone, but from inside the monitor, echoing through that impossible hallway behind the figure. He slowly lowered the receiver from his ear and held it out toward the camera, as if offering it to me. Then he spoke, and even though his lips didn't move, I heard the words inside my head. "Pick up the phone." I shook my head. No, I won't. But another voice answered this time, from right behind me. "You already did." I spun around again. Still nothing, but I realized something horrifying. My hand was holding the lobby phone. I didn't even remember picking it up. I dropped it like it burned me. It swung wildly on its cord before hitting the desk. "No," I whispered. "I didn't." Then the voice came through the speaker again. "You broke the rule." The line began to distort, twisting, warping into static that didn't sound electronic. It sounded alive, like breathing, like wet flesh moving. I staggered back from the desk, and my eyes fell onto something I hadn't noticed before. The motel brochure holder, once filled with dusty local maps and tourist ads, now held only one folded pamphlet. Just one. And written on the front, in black ink, instructions for replacement. My blood turned cold. I reached for it slowly, afraid of what I would find. I unfolded it. Inside, more handwriting, shaky, frantic. "You broke the rules. Now you must replace the one who came before you. Someone always watches the hallway. Someone always stays in the dark so others can live in the light. You let him out, so now you must take his place." "No," I breathed. "I'm not a part of this. This isn't real." But underneath the message was a name. My name. Written over and over, carved into the paper as if with a knife. A gust of cold air swept through the room, not from outside, but from inside the motel, as if the building itself exhaled. The lights flickered again. The shadows deepened. The floor felt softer, like I was no longer standing on solid ground. I looked back up at camera 4. The figure was gone. The hallway was empty again. Except for one thing. A door stood open now. Room 19, waiting for me. A low voice crawled out of the speakers, deep, patient, hungry. "Come back where you belong." I wanted to run. Every part of me screamed for it. There was still time. I could break a window and disappear into the endless stretch of highway outside. I could start walking and never stop. I could pretend none of this ever happened. Pretend the rules were a joke. Pretend the hallway wasn't real. Pretend I wasn't already trapped, but I already knew. Even if I ran, it would follow. Whatever I let out wasn't bound to the motel anymore. I didn't choose to walk toward camera 4. My body just moved, step by step, pulled by some unseen gravity. Like the hallway was reaching through the screen and reeling me in. The monitor showed me walking. And a second later, I realized with growing horror I was seeing a few seconds into my own future. I had not yet taken those steps, but there I was on the screen doing exactly that. I froze. The future me on camera froze too. That meant the camera didn't just show a fake hallway. It didn't just show somewhere else. It showed what was going to happen. And now I was caught in its script. I whispered, "Stop." The version of me inside the monitor whispered it too. I took a step back. The version of me inside the monitor didn't move. A sickening realization hit me. The reflection in the monitor was no longer me. I felt something behind me before I heard it. A shift of weight, a presence. Something tall, leaning close enough that I could feel the cold radiating off it. Slowly, I turned, not with my body, but only my eyes, terrified of what I would see if I moved even a little too fast. There was no one there, but the reflection on camera 4 leaned closer. I stared at my own unmoving image on the screen, and then it smiled. I didn't, but my reflection did. That was the moment I broke, not like breaking down, breaking open. Something inside me cracked and panic flooded through. I stumbled backward, grabbed the nearest chair, and hurled it at the screen. It shattered. Glass rained over the desk. Camera 4 went black, and in that instant the motel went silent. The kind of silence that didn't feel empty but crowded, alive, like 1,000 eyes opened in the dark. Then I heard it drip, drip, drip. I looked down. Blood. falling from the ceiling, a slow, steady line of red leaking onto the front desk, splashing onto the broken glass. I backed away, heart pounding, staring up in horror. Above me, a crack had formed in the ceiling. Something was pushing through. A hand, thin, stretched bone pressing through skin. Fingernails, long and broken. Another hand gripped the edge. Something was crawling down from above, pulling itself out of the ceiling like a spider from a web. I couldn't move, not even breathe. Then the thing's face emerged, and I understood everything. It was me. It was me. But it wasn't. The thing crawling out of the ceiling wore my face, but wrong, like someone had sculpted me from memory, using hands that didn't understand humanity anymore. Its movements were crooked, unstable, like it didn't belong inside time. I staggered backward, pulse racing. Who are you? It tilted its head slowly, skin stretching too tight across its cheeks as it grinned. I am you, it said, just further down the hallway. I don't understand, I whispered. You will, it said. Everyone who breaks the rules does. You thought the rules were chains, but they were warnings. You thought camera 4 showed lies, but it shows what waits beyond. You opened the door, and once it opens, someone must take your place. No, I said. I'm leaving. You can't, it said simply. You saw it. The hallway follows you. The door follows you. He follows you. He who, its smile widened unnaturally. The one who lives between moments. The one who watches from the frames between frames. The one your mind refuses to see. I shook my head. I won't stay here. You already are, it said. It raised a finger and pointed not at me, but past me. Slowly, terrified, I turned. Camera 4 had turned itself back on. There was no broken glass, no damage, no blood, no ceiling crack. Just the hallway again. Endless, patient. And there, standing in front of room 19, was me, the other me, the one now inside. He didn't move, didn't speak, didn't blink. He was just watching, waiting. My chest tightened as I stared at the screen. I reached for the power switch. I don't know why. Maybe I thought I could still walk away from this, but I could still reclaim my life. That turning off the screen would erase what I saw. Maybe I thought the rules didn't matter anymore. I was wrong, because the moment my fingers touched the power button, a whisper slipped from the monitor. Don't mute camera 4. I froze. The screen flickered. My reflection leaned closer and whispered again. If you mute it, he will come through. I looked at the brass key still sitting on the desk, the one marked 19. I finally understood. The rules weren't written to protect the motel. They were written to protect the world from the thing inside. And now I am trapped here, like the one before me, and one day someone will break the rules again. Someone always does. When they do, the hallway will open again and I will be waiting, watching just like I am now. Because no one escapes camera 4. Not anymore.